Welcome back to Jason's Pen Journey. Today we're going to do a pen review of a new pen that I acquired recently, which is the Gravitas Vac Filler 2.0. So this one is new. I've actually filled it up once, which is how some folks saw it in my one of my previous videos. But I had some interest in learning more about the vac filler mechanism from some folks on the comments, so including my dad. So, Dad, this video is for you. The Gravitas Vac Filler is just came out last month, so I'm recording this in June. Came out in May. Ordered in May, pretty early on. There's a lot to unpack here, so bear with me as I kind of work through a whole bunch of stuff. So first up, Gravitas Pens out of Ireland. They are doing some really innovative things with how they engineer their pens. They've had a lot of scrutiny on some of the things that they've built and some of the trouble that they've had with some of the previous models. And I'm one of those people who had trouble with one of the previous models, which I'll show you in a moment. So Gravitas is out of Ireland. They do a lot of their fulfillment through Pen Ventures in Romania, shipping all over the world. They also have some distribution in the US. I had bought a previous pen, actually two previous pens from Gravitas, through US distributor through US distribution, US retailers. So I had bought the Gravitas Monster last summer through Farney's Pens in Washington DC, and just recently I bought a Gravitas Century through Endless Pens out of Florida, I think. Yeah, pretty sure it's Florida. But this was my first time buying something directly from Gravitas. So let's talk about that a little bit. So when you're in the US and you're buying from outside of the US here in 2026, you're going to encounter some extra fees, let's say. As you know, the way that the world is going the last couple of years, there's some extra fees that come along in the form of tariffs and import duties and things like that. So not only are you paying for the pen, you're also paying for shipping, and you're also paying for some extra stuff on top that gets paid to the U.S. government. So when you're buying direct from Gravitas, what you're actually doing is you're buying from Gravitas, getting fulfillment from Pen Ventures in Romania. You're paying for the pen itself in euros. So exchange rates come into play when you're a U.S. Customer. You're paying for the pen in euros. You're paying for shipping in euros. In this case, it was DHL shipping. And then you're also paying for the whatever fees come along when DHL does the shipping. So in my case, there was an import duty that I had to pay directly to DHL to cover the tariffs. So it winds up being a pretty costly endeavor to purchase a pen from Gravitas or from anywhere outside the US when you're in the US. That's just the way things are right now. So all told, it was quite expensive. I'm not going to do all the conversion rates because I don't feel like it. I already did all this last month. So the Gravitas VAC 2.0 was 195 euros direct from Gravitas, and then there was another 1894 in shipping in euros. And then I actually had to pay another $47.54 US to DHL. So all told, what's that? 195, 18, 19, so about 215 euros. So that's probably 200 some odd dollars. Added another $47 US, so that's more than $200 for the euros to US. So it winds up being a pretty costly pen. So right off the bat, just remember that when you're talking about this stuff, it is not cheap. It's not cheaply made, so remember that. But you are paying a lot of extra stuff just to get for the right to have this pen in the U.S. Until they have U.S. distribution for this pen, which will obviously change things a little bit. But then a U.S. retailer is going to have some extra, some extra fees they have to put on top to cover their costs. But let's not talk about cost. Let's talk about the pen. And let's first. I'm actually going to go back to cost for a moment. So one of the things that the Gravitas pen includes, or does not include, actually, and that's actually the point, is it's the maintenance tool. So there's another. If you are buying the pen from Gravitas, I encourage you to buy at the same time their maintenance tool, which is a $12 uh, wrench. Basically, it's a $12 wrench, €12 wrench. Excuse me. I didn't buy it at the time, and I'm certainly not going to spend the money with all the shipping and DHL fees to buy it now. So just be aware that if you do purchase this pen, it's hard to clean and perform any maintenance on if you don't actually have the right tool. The good news is you can actually do it yourself at home if you have the right tools at home. So let me switch over to the camera. I'm going to talk you through a little bit, and then what we'll do is I'm going to quickly show you the pen, disassemble the pen so you can see the vac filler inside and how to take it apart. Then I'm going to reassemble it, and then I'm going to fill it, and then write with it. So that's what we're going to do here. We'll switch over to the other camera. All right, let's take a look at the Gravitas Vac 2.0. And this is the aluminum black version. This was the first one that came out with. They have since come out with a titanium version as well. But the 2.0, it's an Ultem demonstrator body, and then it's aluminum on the cap, the back finial and back cap, as well as the grip. It comes with a really nice black coated aluminum, black steel nib. I got it in fine. It's really nice looking. I mean, I love the look of the black and the yellow for the Ultem body. Might be getting a little too much light here. But it's a really sleek pen. A couple things to be aware of right off the top. So there's no clip, there's no roll stop. So that's where the pen rest is coming into play here today, because this is going to be able to roll around pretty easily. Do want to be careful about that. Some other things to note, it is a vacuum filler, so that does take a little bit of getting used to if you've never done a vac filler before, and that's what some of the folks wanted to see on this video. It does have this little ink window up at the top at the base of the grip, as well as obviously you have the whole body as well is all made in Ultem, so it's a demonstrator you can see through. What is interesting is because it is that yellow Ultem material, once you put an ink in, it's going to change the color. Yellow is not going to show up as yellow depending on what you put in there. I guess if you put a yellow ink in, then it'll stay yellow, but really I'm not putting a yellow ink in here. This is going to be something that I'm going to take with me on a plane this week, so that's why I'm inking it up now. Because with a vacuum filler, I can take that on a plane without worrying about it spurting ink out, and I won't be able to bring most of my pens that are done with converters on the plane, not easily at least, not without potentially making a mess. So I am taking this with me. So I got to put something in it that's gonna. So that's where yellow is kind of out the door. I don't actually have really a lot of yellow. I don't think I have any yellow ink, but that's not color I would want to bring with me. I'm going to ink it up when I get to that with Iroshizuku Tsuki-yo, which is a really nice kind of grayish blue. It's blue, but a little bit gray. So it'll be a nice color, but I don't know how that's going to pair in that with that yellow. I guess it'll turn green. But it'll basically, you won't be able to see through it anymore, is the point I'm trying to make. When you are looking at a couple other things about pen itself. So let's see, there's the Gravitas logo on the back of the cap, pointed end on the top, pointed end on the bottom. So it's not going to stand up or anything like that. Not that you would, but it's a really nice pen. Really feels comfortable in the hand. So let's do how many turns. Let's see, there is one full turn, just a little more than one full turn, so maybe 1.25 full turns to uncap it. It will post reasonably securely. Gets a little heavy, that aluminum. It's not snapping into place, so you may not want to post it, but it's a heavy enough pen that you probably don't want to throw off the balance. We'll do that when we get actually inked up and start writing with it. But you can post it. I just don't think it's not secure enough. It slips on really nicely, so it's not falling off anytime soon, but it's heavier that way. This is not light material with aluminum, so I don't know that you want to throw off the balance by putting the cap on the back of the pen. It's kind of bead blasted, feels like, so there's a little bit of grip on the section here. Really going to be easy to hold for a while, and then you've got that smooth Ultem back there. So it'll hold nicely in the hand as you start writing, and it'll be the balance will change a little bit as you start filling up this 4.5 milliliter maximum capacity vacuum filler. So let's actually talk for a moment about the vacuum filling mechanism. This is a smaller version of Gravitas's Kraken filling system, which is how they get so much ink in there. So they're 4.5 milliliters in this one. This is smaller than their Gravitas Monster, which has the same Kraken mechanism, which is 7 milliliters. You may remember seeing the Kraken on my channel before with the Gravitas Monster. But one thing I do want to mention, the Monster has had some structural problems. So I am one of the customers that recently had my Gravitas Monster snap in half. So it actually broke right there at where the acrylic meets the aluminum in the grip. The actual grip section is actually stuck inside the cap. It was in my bag in a pen case with other pens, no extra pressure put on it, but this is a pretty big heavy pen, and this one is known to be prone to breakage. So this one broke. I've been in touch with Gravitas and Farney's Pens about getting this covered by warranty, still working through that. And I don't have a final answer. I've cleaned this out from the ink that was in there. But this was the same kind of vacuum filler. You can actually see it here without being attached because it's broken. That's how that vacuum works. You hear that pop at the end. That would be, as you were filling it, the ink would fill up here. This is up to 7 milliliters, bigger capacity. You can't really see it on the video, but the monster is wider than the Vac 2.0, so that's where the extra capacity is coming in from. So still to be determined how that's all going to resolve. I'm hoping Gravitas is going to be sending replacement parts for this, so I can get this back to working order. Stay tuned. Maybe we'll have an update on that in the channel later. But when the Vac 2.0 came out, I was really encouraged because I'd heard a lot of different things about how much sturdier the Ultem would be than the acrylic. And it's also where kind of the lever would be. It doesn't have the same thing where the cap is up against the point where the aluminum meets the Ultem, so it shouldn't have that same lever effect that could come into play there. So I mentioned already that I had already filled this up once and needed to clean it out so I could make this video. But let's take a quick look at what it would be like if we were filling it, and I'll fill it on camera later. But you unscrew the cap at the end, and once there's a little bit of tension there, and then once you get past the tension, then it is ready almost to pull back. Not quite unscrewed. There we go. Maybe, yes, there we go. Oh, I still got a little bit of ink in there that I'll have to clean out before I fill it. So that's how you would fill up the. Let me make sure I get some paper towel here because I don't want to have that ink spurt out. Actually, that was not supposed to pop all the way out. That's part of the problem. So I unscrewed it a little too much there. Yeah. There we go. That's the point where you can pull it. You don't want that actually popping out because then you can't actually get the fill. But that's the problem. I didn't fully tighten it back up when I was disassembling it earlier. So here's where the I don't know if it shows up well on camera, but this is an hexagon bolt that's actually attached to the end. So that is going to be attached really tightly to make sure you have a vacuum seal, and then you would have your vacuum filler popping in there. So I can't get the rest of that ink out. That's ink and water from cleaning it earlier. That I'm going to try to get a little bit more dry before we actually dip it in the tsuki-yo. So here's the secret. Normally, you would need to use their proprietary tool to actually get that hexagon bolt open, but I am not going to wait. So what I did is took a little bit of paper towel, took some needle nose pliers, wrapped the pliers around the base, and just so I don't scratch it, and just unscrew it from there. So I'm gripping the pliers just like I would do with the wrench and unscrewing that bolt. So you can see there, it's now been unscrewed. I can do this by hand now. Okay, so once you get that unscrewed, now I can pop out the entire piston, the entire rod, and now I can clean this out. So I've already cleaned it out. Obviously, I didn't do the best job because you can see a couple of drops still in there. So I'm going to pause on the camera and make sure I clean that out thoroughly, dry it out before we drop it in. But you can see the vacuum filler rod is still in good shape. We just got a little bit of residual ink in the mechanism that didn't dry properly. So I'm going to pause here. I'll come back. I'll reassemble, and we'll take it from there. Coming back, I've got it cleaned out enough for the purposes. So there's still a little bit of tiny, a couple drops of ink at the end. That, as you can see, I was jamming paper towel in there to try to dry it, sop up the ink. Normally, I would let this dry more, so wouldn't have an issue. And there's still a little bit in there, and you can see in the ink window. But matching a blue to a blue, it won't matter. It's fine. Not the end of the world. So, reassembling it. Let's put the rod back in there. And I can, as I'm pushing, I can feel the vacuum, the gaskets squeezing. So what I want to do is I want to have the piston rod or the rod pulled out so I can see what I'm doing. And then I'm just gonna, kind of hand screw this back in. And when I get to the end, I will tighten it up again with the pliers to make sure it's got a good seal. Again, what I'm going to do with the pliers is going to make sure that I'm covering the metal so it's not metal on metal. That's where the paper towel comes into play. So tighten it up as much as I can with my hands, but then we'll do a little bit more with the pliers. So just so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm probably voiding the warranty here, but that's okay. So I'm gripping the pliers as tight as I can, giving that a good squeeze. Make sure I'm gonna get that as tight as I can. So that should be good. All right. So that is disassembling and cleaning, or doing a pretty good job of cleaning. Not perfect. The nib and the feet are clean though. So let's get that inked up. Bring our towel out so we don't spill any tsuki-yo all over the place. And then when it comes to filling the vac filler, we will put that pen into the Oroshizuku. And I realize it's hard to angle the camera and the pen so you can see what's happening here. But what I'm doing is holding the body of the pen tightly with my left hand, pulling up with my right hand, pulling that rod all the way to the end. See if I can dip this so you can see it. Gotta be careful to not spill the bottle. I'm going to try to do this at an angle so you can see it, but this is going to be difficult to not make a mess. Okay, so I've got it pulled all the way to the back, pushing down on the rod until it hits the bottom, and then you can see that ink filling up. Not a completely full fill, but pretty good. If that's 4.5 milliliters total capacity, you can see we got probably 2/3, 3/4 of that filled up on the first fill. Now you can max out the fill on these Kraken filling mechanisms. Get what they call a super fill. Search on online. I think Pen Venture that does the distribution has some videos on how to do that. I'm not interested in getting that to a super fill, so that's okay. So we close that back up, back to the end. That's good, nice and tight. Clean off the grip, clean off the nib. And we should be in business. Okay. Now, clean my desk a little bit, get these paper towel remnants out of the way, bring some paper in. All right. Now, the writing sample. It's a really smooth writer. So one of the things I really like about the nibs that Gravitas makes, they're all done in-house, but they're a really smooth writing experience. And that tsuki-yo is just awesome color. So we have the Gravitas Vac 2.0, and this is the aluminum or aluminium if you're in Europe. Aluminum black with a fine point. Lays down a good amount of ink. It's a nice wet ink. It's a really smooth writer right out of the box. I have been using this pen a bit before re-inking it, so I know it's good. I actually, the ink that I'm using now with the tsuki-yo is even better than what I was using before, which is the Colorverse Sun Grazing Comet. But I like this tsuki-yo even better. So really, really smooth writer. No issues, no scratchiness, no feedback. It's kind of like writing with glass. Oh, that was my wrist turning, not the pen. That was my wrist. I turned it a little bit too much, so I caught the edge. So anyway, there you go. There you have it. That's the Gravitas Vac Vac 2.0 aluminum black with a fine nib. So one last thing before I move it over. So, remember that was a yellow Ultem. We now have it with a blue ink inside. So yellow and blue make green, as you learned as a child. So you can't see through it anymore. You don't get that really stark contrast between the black and the yellow, but that's okay because now we got 4.5 milliliters, well, almost probably 3.5 milliliters of Iroshizuku ink that I can take on a plane and take with me on my trip. That's the Gravitas for you. Like I said, I've had some other issues with my Gravitas Monster, so jury's out on what we're doing there. But the Vac 2.0 is really nice writer, smaller than the Monster, smaller in the hand, smaller capacity, but hopefully sturdier in the long run. Doesn't have the same structural potential weaknesses that the Monster turned out to have. Hopefully, having the aluminum, I'm sorry, the aluminum meeting the Ultem instead of aluminum meeting acrylic should help with the sturdiness of the construction over time. And one thing that I do want to mention that Gravitas, when I was going back and forth with them on the Monster, they do recommend use cleaning the pen regularly. Don't let the ink sit in there too long. I don't know if that's specifically for the Monster, but since I've had that experience, I'll just say that that's probably going to be what they're going to recommend for their other pens as well. With this filling mechanism, despite the fact that you're putting a lot of ink in there, they do encourage you to clean it regularly and don't let the ink sit around for too long. They also encourage not using red inks, so that's why I put a blue ink in here. I think there's something about the chemicals and the red dyes that may have had an issue. I don't know that I fully understand that, and we'll just take them at their word on that. So that's why I put a blue ink in. We'll see how many days I go without cleaning this pen. I don't think I'll be able to go weeks and weeks and weeks, or I don't think I'll be able. I don't think I'll be able to clean it that quickly. Just because I'm not going to go through the ink that quickly. But that's what they encourage. So Gravitas Vac 2.0 aluminum black, fine nib, really nice writer. Filling system is easy to use if you know what you're doing with the vacuum filler, which it's not something that I've got years and years and years of experience because I'm still early in the pen journey. But disassembling it was not terribly hard. You don't really need their little tool. So if you don't have that, don't let that intimidate you. You can get it done. Like I said, I'm probably avoiding a warranty just by using something else. And if they see this video, well, so be it. Again, watch out for, if you're purchasing from the US, watch out for all the extra tariff import duties that you're going to have to pay on top of shipping. You might be able to get it through other means if you are not buying directly from Gravitas. If you're buying through some other retailer, maybe you get the tariffs covered. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else is offering it directly besides Gravitas and through their distributor, Pen Venture in Romania. I think I've started seeing it show up for pre-sale in some other places. I think I saw it on Endless Pens in the US. So we'll see if that starts to come to pass and you may be able to get it through other ways. in the US. All above board. I'm not, encouraging any kind of gray market or anything like that. But there might be some other, if you're willing to wait, there might be other ways to get it a little cheaper without having to pay all that upfront money through tariffs and import duties through DHL. So that's the Gravitas pen for you. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully that answered questions about how to use the vac filler. And you probably got more than you bargained for when you sat down to watch this video. If you have any questions, leave a comment in the YouTube comments below. Give the channel a subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up, a like. I would appreciate it. And until I see you next time, keep on writing.